I'm wondering
Some
want to
people
teach
actually
them when
left
they don't
for
want
you
to
to
sacrifice
join.
to join.
Someone sacrificed for you to join, no?
Price, but another
But
person.
another
More
person.
than one person self.
But I sacrificed now. I did. I left.
What are
Thank
you
And
you.
that's like,
doing here?
You sacrifice. What are you
He
doing
dropped
here?
another group. He dropped another link now, and I have to join.
Okay. Voila.
all
Let's
right,
continue.
no
My
problem.
boss, you don't try.
Yeah,
You
we are
thank you,
there.
Jerry.
Yeah. So, can we quickly run a recap from the last class? In our previous classes, we've defined capital allowance. And we said capital allowance is an allowance granted to a taxpayer for putting to use a qualifying capital expenditure in a year of assessment. And I remember that in that class, we discussed about types of allowances, right? Where we explained in details what is initial allowance, investment allowance, annual allowance, export processing zone allowance. And we also discussed balancing adjustment, where we said there's going to be what we call either balancing charge or balancing allowance. I guess that was where we stopped, and then we solved an illustration. And we said you should always remember the steps in computing capital allowance. And who wants to remind us the steps? Who wants to remind us? Who wants to remind us the steps?
Step 1.
Okay.
Determine the basis period for the assessable profit.
Okay.
Step 2. Determine the basis period for the capital allowance.
Okay.
Step 3. Allocate the qualifying capital expenditure using the basis period for the capital allowance. And step 4,
Okay.
compute the capital allowance.
Okay. That's fine. That's impressive. Right. So let's just get into today's discussion. Uh, I've shared the notes with you before,
I didn't
so
hear the 4 steps.
okay, don't worry. Watch the video. Ask your neighbor. We can't.
Eh?
We did. Instead of the two, we can't keep dragging ourselves be back every day. These were the things I said in the last 2 weeks. In fact, this was if I were to be a normal university teacher, I would have gotten angry because you have access to the video and you refuse to watch again when you missed class. You can imagine. You see, I'm kind for not getting angry. Am I not?
Over kind they do you, sir.
So you oh God bless you. You're just too kind, too patient. God bless you.
Amen. Thank you for the compliment. But I don't know if the compliment is genuine or not. But sure, thank you. I appreciate you.
I don't think so.
It's genuine. It's God that searches the heart. He knows it's genuine.
All right, no worries at all. All right, so can you see my screen, everybody? Please confirm that you can see my
Yes.
screen.
Yes.
Yes.
So let's go on
Yes, sir.
to yes. So illustration 2. Can somebody read that for us?
Question, please.
I can read.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Oh, I can't see it anymore.
Yeah, please check now.
As part of the induction program for the newly recruited staff of your firm of tax consultants, you have been saddled with responsibility. You have been saddled with the responsibility of making a presentation on company tax computation for beginners during the firm training session.
Sorry. Let me cut a little. Let me cut in a little. When you are faced with theory question, it's just better that sorry. Is this still streaming on YouTube? Is this streaming? Yeah. All right. So when you are faced with questions like this, I will always advise that you start with the
Additional information.
requirement first. You start with the requirement. The reason is, for all your theory questions, you're likely going to be faced with some questions, some stuffs in the question that are not relevant, right? So the best way to tackle that, the best way to tackle or confront that situation is by you reading the additional information. So with reading the additional information, you will be able to identify, when you are now reading, the salient points from the question that are very key in your solution. Do you understand? So now, for instance, if I'm doing, so when I've read the requirement, I know what I want to do. So once I'm reading towards achieving what I want to achieve. Does it make sense to you, please? Does it make sense to you?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. So now, having said that, so let's get that. So start from the requirements that way. Who is reading
Requirement
for?
A. State the basis period of assessment and compute the capital allowance for the first 5 years of assessment, 5 marks. Requirement B. Calculate the capital allowance due to be utilized for the first 3 years of assessment in respect of qualifying capital expenditure incurred by the company. The
Okay.
question,
So now read the question. That's what I was going to say.
okay, as part of the induction program for the newly recruited staff of your firm,
Please go ahead. Can anybody hear him?
No.
Can somebody assist
C
him?
Normal Limited, a training company.
Okay.
C Normal Limited, a training company, was incorporated on 1st June 2018, but commenced business on 1 September 2018. The following information is made available to you. Period accessible and the profit. All figures in thousand naira or in million naira. 4 months period ended 31 December 2018, 37,500 million. Sir?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Year ended 31
No,
December.
don't bother about that. Just go to the following assets where what figures are assumed correct.
Okay. The following assets were purchased during the period: 5 June 2018, land and building. 1 July 2018,
All
motor car.
figures assumed correct.
Assumed to be
So
correct.
let's move on.
Correct. Okay. In order to clearly explain the exact rules on computation of capital allowances by companies, you are required to, state the basis
We've
period
read
of
that.
assessment.
We've read that before. So it's just better we just go straight to the question, right?
Yes, sir.
Toshinoma Nigeria Limited, right? So the first thing the examiner has us to do is to determine. So we say determination of basis period, right? And processable profit. And capital allowance. For now, first assignment here. This guy started in 2018. So for 2018, are you applying the old rule or the new rule? Are you applying the old rule or the new rule?
Odo.
So,
Odo.
so for 2018 to, I'll just add 1 year since it's older to 2021 year of assessments. That's the first thing there, right? So I'll say, why please mute your mics. Don't let me ask. I don't want to mute everybody today. This is my mom's birthday month, so I want to be nice this month or through.
No girl.
Ow. Sir.
Baby, it's not my birthday, it's my mom. No. Allocation of QC. So I want to be nice this month, so please help me.
Is it your birthday?
Eh? All right, so let's get into the business, right? Now, remember in that class, in that our first class, we said the basis period shall be from the date of commencement to 31st December of that same year. You remember that? So, what's the date of commencement of this business? What's the date of commencement of this business? First September
2018.
2018
1st
to
September.
31st December, right? 2018. And it will be on actual year basis. What was actual year basis? 2018, right? And we said for you to do this very correctly, you have to continue, right? So 2019, the basis period shall be from the date of commencement, that's 1/9/2018 to 12 months period, right? So that's 31/8/2019. Do I understand it?
Yes, sir.
Then on 2020 now, we are moving to the new date. We are now for 2020, we are now following the new rule. The new rule is saying it must end in the accounting year end. And if you check very well, what you have as accounting year is 31/12/2019 because it must be on preceding year basis. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is that
Yes, sir.
correct? And
Yes,
Of
if you
course.
count, please pay attention here. If you count 12 months backward, you will start from 1/1, right? Please pay attention. I'm going to cancel here. Start 1/1/2019, right? Please pay attention so that we won't have to start finding ourselves. It will be 1/1/2018. But is there anything wrong with what I have done on the screen?
Yes.
That time, the
Yes,
second
Yes.
one.
it's overlapping.
Overlapping.
Good.
Hello,
So
sir.
there's overlapping.
Sorry, Mr. Ogunero.
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay, sorry. Since there is a problem with the YouTube link, we can't hear you. So I was just lucky to just log in here now. People have been complaining there that we cannot hear, and sincerely, we can't hear anything.
Oh, sorry. Let me find out what's going on.
Please don't log out though.
Yes,
No,
that's
not at
what I
all.
wanted to say.
I know fits the that one. Okay, just a minute. I think I will.
Sir, please, are you sharing your screen?
I've stopped sharing just now.
I never saw anything. I never saw my screen was blank all through.
I think
That must be so.
Yes, sorry, sir.
Because I think everyone has to have the same screen.
What is it?
The same thing here, sir. The screen was blank.
I thought maybe because you are doing revision, that's why you are not sharing your screen.
I'm not revising anything. I've started today's class. So
Okay.
yeah. So it could be on. Can anybody? Did anybody see my screen?
No.
Yes, I was going
Yeah,
to
I
ask
saw.
you.
Yes. It was showing before, but later it went off.
I wanted
But
to
now
check.
it's
Up until
Why are we using
when demand
last
interrupted.
class we see this.
Up until
Yes,
when
it was
demand
showing.
cuts. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes. Until you
Yes,
stop
sir. We can see
sharing.
your screen.
Okay. No problem, no problem. So I would advise, if you could not see my screen, then just try to log out and log in again.
Ah.
Tennis.
Don't
Error.
try her.
very risky.
Error.
That one will be till next week again. That means I'm going to YouTube. I can't
YouTube,
risk it.
wait. Please don't log out. Oh.
Just hold on. I'm just trying to cater for our brothers on YouTube. Sorry, just a minute. Please bear with me. Sorry, just a minute. I'm just trying to attend to them. I've shared this thing with you. I think you should go now. Please confirm that people on YouTube can hear me now. Please, somebody should please try that. You can log in. Log in. I've shared a new link. You can log out to try it and see if it works, then come back to the class again.
So, sir, where did you share the new link? Because I'm not seeing it yet on the. Okay, I've seen it on the go. So.
Hello. See if it works, then come back to the class again.
Hello.
Okay, I think I can hear.
Because I'm not seeing.
We can hear you.
I can hear myself now.
Yes, it's working fine now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's.
But the screen is not still showing, sir.
No, I've not started sharing. Let's
Okay. Thank you.
Right. So you confirm that you can see my screen. Just it will come up now. Just confirm that you can see it anytime it comes up. Right.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. So if you can see my screen, just give me a thumbs up so that we can move on very fast. All right, good.
Sorry, sir. Is it possible you increase the screen? Is it possible?
No, you should enlarge it from your end. Except if you want me to log out and log in again.
It's not even showing here at all. Yeah, it's not showing in my side though.
It's not showing here.
It's your network.
And it
It's your
was showing
network.
before that
Zoom it,
raise
zoom it, we
raise
see
an
it.
alarm.
It's your network.
Maybe they mistakenly hide their presentation.
It is your
What is it?
network. Oh, the screen is showing. Don't disturb the class.
Okay. All right. So what I
Or
was
maybe you
saying is,
mistakenly hide your presentation.
some people. So it happens like that for some people.
We can see and hear you.
Okay, that's fine. So let's move
Please,
on.
let's fire on. Oh, time has gone. Oh.
Just if it's tiny from your end, just bolden it a little bit. Just try to make your screen more broad. That will work. But for me, I'm using the laptop and I'm trying to make sure that I'm sharing the two at the same time. That's why it's like that from my end. Right. So I think so. I was asking that is there anything wrong with year 2020 year of assessment?
Sir, the people on YouTube can't see or
Yeah.
anything.
No, they can see. They can see. I'm following them. They are
They can
commenting.
see. I'm looking at it on YouTube at the same time. They can see.
All right.
All right. So I was saying
Allowance,
that
Bola.
is there anything wrong with 2020 year of assessment? Auntie
Hello?
Bola, please mute. Auntie Bola, please help me.
There is an
Sorry, I'm
overlap
so
of
sorry.
basis period.
All right. So we're saying that is there anything wrong with 2020 year of assessment? Somebody should please answer.
Yes, overlap of basis period.
An
And
overlap
it's
of
an
business
overlap of,
period.
and that's contrary to finance. That's contrary to overlap
There
of
is
basis
no
period.
there is no basis period because there is overlapping.
No, you are wrong. There's going to be basis period because the rule does not say anytime there's overlapping, you should cancel. What the rule is saying is that you should make sure that it does not overlap. And to avoid that overlap, what you make sure you do is that you start a day after their previous accounting year end. So what's the day after 31/8 this time around?
19
Yeah,
2019.
good. So 1/9 2019 to 31/12 2019. So you have 2021 now, right? So you just continue. What's the day after 31/12?
1/1
February
2020.
2020.
22 31/12/2020, right? And then 2022, you start the day after, right? So what's the day after?
1st
1/1
January
21
2021
to
to
31
35
December
December
2021,
2021.
right? Is that clear? If it is blue on YouTube, it's from your end. Just try to increase your quality of video. Click on your settings and try to click on quality of video, right? Just try to do that.
Why are
You
we
will see that it
using
will improve.
actual year basis?
Why are we what?
Why are we using actual year basis? Last class we used preceding basis.
Okay, we said that for basis period, for years of commencement below 2020 year of assessment, you have to use the old rule. And the old rule is saying from the date of commencement to the 1st December of that same year on actual year basis. So but for better clarification, you may want to watch our first class video.
Thank you, sir.
That first class video, I explained it in details in that class. Right. But that's just the idea around behind it anyway. So now you want to check. In the last class, we said that basis period for accessible profit is not different from basis period for capital allowance. Only that there should be no gap or overlapping in the basis period. I repeat that again. We said that basis period for accessible profit should not be different from basis period for capital allowance. Only that there should be no gap overlapping in the basis period. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. If that's clear, what we need to do then, what we need to do in that case is that you start immediately the basis period starts, right? To avoid that. Don't forget that in this basis period for accessible profit, you can see some overlaps, right? Right. Do you understand?
Yes, yes.
So now you start that same day. So 1/9/2018, right? To 31/12/2018. Now, please pay attention. To avoid that overlap, you will ignore this basis period for accessible profit. You ignore it. Don't forget that in the last class, all we did was to copy and paste the basis for accessible profit. Do you remember? Because there was no overlapping. But in this case, there's overlapping. So what you do in that case is you ignore the basis period for accessible profit. Then start a day after the basis period for capital allowance. You start a day after the basis period for capital allowance. So what's the day after?
1st January.
So we have
So
1/1/2019.
2019.
Then you
31st.
end at the basis period for accessible profit. Does it make sense? You
No.
end at the basis period for accessible profit. I repeat myself. You start immediately after the basis period for capital allowance, right? You start immediately after the end of the basis period for capital allowance and end at the basis period for accessible profit. Do you understand that now? So you are doing 31/8/2019. Do I understand what we've done so far?
Yes, sir.
If it is
Hello,
tiny
sir.
from your
Please,
end,
I don't
just holding
understand,
your
sir.
screen.
Please.
What is the question? Do you have any specific question?
No, just this one you just explained now. Please.
Okay, let me start again. Remember in the last class, we said basis period for accessible profit is not different from basis period for capital allowance. Only that there should be no gap or overlapping in the basis period. I repeat that again. Basis period for accessible profit is not different from basis period for capital allowance. Only that there should be no gap or overlapping in the basis period. Now, to avoid that overlapping in the basis period, where there is basis period for accessible profit, right? You start a day after the basis period of capital allowance ends. You start a day after. So what's the day after 31 December 2018?
1st of January 2019.
So 1st of January 2019. And then you come and end where the basis period for accessible profit ends. When the basis period for accessible profit ends, talk to me now.
31st of
31st
August
August 2019.
2019.
All right, good. Question number 2 on our question sheet. You all have the question sheet. Question number 2 of the question sheet. Question number 2 of the question sheet. Please, if you are on the old class, tell them to leave that class and then join this one. Please just communicate with them to leave that previous class and then let them join here. All right, so let's move on. You start immediately after. We are using the same principle, right? You start a day after. What's the day after? 1/9/2019, right? And then end where this ends, right? So where is the ending? 31/12/2019, right? So use the same rule again. 1/1/2020, right? So 31 December 2020, right? There is 1/1/2021 to 31 December 2021. Do you have any question for me?
So please, can you explain that basis period for 2020? Can you explain it again?
So the basis period for 2020, you mean 2020 year of assessment, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so for basis period for year 2020, what we just did is we started a day after this date. So a day after 31 August is what?
That's September 1st September 2019.
That's where we are starting there. And we are ending where the basis period for accessible profit ends. So what is the
I
date
want to
end?
understand how there was an overlapping year. That's what my confusion is.
How does what?
You said there's an overlapping in this 2020 for the basis period year of assessment. This accessible profit, yeah. There's
Okay.
an overlapping. So I want to understand it. I don't really get that part.
We've corrected that already. I was using to illustrate.
Okay.
So we've corrected that. We said that, the ideal thing, if not for the new rule, we would have counted 12 months backward from December.
Yes.
So what's 12 months backward?
January, 1st January.
So if you do 1st January 2019, you will realize that that 1st January 2019 is already in 2019 year of assessment. Do you notice that?
Yes, sir.
And so that's double counting. So to avoid that double count, that's why we started a day after the previous one, to avoid overlapping. Because Finance Act 2019 does not like overlapping. Does it make sense to you now?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So the next thing you want to do now is to do your allocation of QC. And to allocate your QC, to allocate your QC, what you would do is to use the basis period for capital allowance. To allocate QC, you use basis period for capital allowance. So let's look at the first asset. Don't forget our rule. Assets purchased before the date of commencement are deemed to be purchased on the day of commencement. Do you remember that? Hello, do you remember that?
Yes,
Assets purchased
Hello,
before
sir.
the date of
Yes.
commencement. Yes.
Hello, sir. Sorry, sir.
Yeah.
Can I speak, sir?
Yeah, please go ahead.
At what point do we need not to add that we normally say there's no basis period? Because I'm confused in that that year 2020.
It is when you
Because
start
the previous
2019.
question we had before, there was a
Okay.
particular period that we say there's no basis period.
If you check that question very well, the question started in 2019.
Yes, sir.
It is when you commence in 2019, there will be no basis period. But when you commence in 2020, you all just need to do adjust to avoid overlap. That's all. Does it make sense to you?
Okay. As in when we commenced that business in 2019,
yes,
it is that time that we will not have basis period.
In 2020,
Hope I'm correct, sir. In 2020, yes.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's now move on a little bit further. We want to allocate QC, and we said QC are allocated based on the basis period for capital allowance. And we said assets purchased before the date of commencement are deemed to be purchased on the day of commencement. Do you remember that? Assets purchased before the date of commencement are deemed to be purchased on the day of commencement. So land and building was purchased before the date of commencement, so therefore automatically it falls in the first year. Right? Then the second asset. The second asset you have is what?
Sorry,
Motor
I'm
vehicle.
lost.
Where can we find you?
From that allocation of
I hope you're not very
2018.
far behind.
no,
You are
no,
very
no.
far behind.
That QC.
Which QC is that? So we said
We are
asset
reading
purchased before.
something.
I said asset purchased before the date of commencement.
Should be on the first year.
To be purchased on the day of commencement. So if you check this land and building was purchased what year? What is the date of purchase?
2018. First, 5th June.
2018.
As at 5th June 2018, as the business started?
No.
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 So it means you assume that the asset is purchased on the day of commencement. So it will automatically fall in the first year. Does it make sense?
Yes.
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 Second one. The asset is purchased 1st July 2018. That's motor vehicle, right? As 1st July 2018, as the business commenced.
No.
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 Now it means automatically we assume that the asset was purchased on the first day the business commenced. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So motor vehicle. Next asset. Machinery was purchased on 15th October 2018. As of 15 October 2018, where does it fall? Using the basis period for capital allowance. Where does it fall?
It's still in
First
the
October.
first year.
It's in the first year. So I'll say machinery. If it is blurry, please try to increase from your settings. Just click on settings, then increase the video quality from your end. the plan you are on is on data saver. That's why it is blurry. All right, so let's look at the next one. We have 28th February 2018. So where does 28th February 2018 falls? First year, second year, third one? Third year.
Second year.
Second year.
So we have furniture, right?
Yes.
All right, so the next one, we have delivery van, right? Delivery van is purchased when?
First May.
May 2019.
So where does it fall?
Second year.
Second year.
Second year.
All right. All right, is it clear, everybody?
Yes.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Please, this QCE. Are we determining this based on the basis period or capital allowance?
Yeah, basis pay for capital allowance.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, I've answered. I said basis pay for capital allowance forms the basis
Okay.
for determining it. So computation for capital allowances for what year of assessment? The examiner says for the first 3 years, right? So for 2018 to first 3 years now, 2020 years of assessment. Is it clear to this extent?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. So what are the class of assets that we have? We have land and building.
Land and building.
We have motor vehicle.
Motor
We
vehicle.
have
Plant and machinery.
Plant and
Furniture.
Furniture.
We have motor vehicle. And then we have total. Actually, since we have the same motor vehicle, so let me just use one for the two to illustrate a point. I'll give you assignments, but I know most of you will not do it. But you know my rule still stands. If majority of the class does not do it, I'm not permitted to solve. Remember?
So on the first one we solved.
And now I told you, if majority of the class does not do it, I'm not permitted to solve. They won't release me. Honestly, I want to do it, but they won't just release me.
Please.
Many of us submitted. I think majority. So
Majority is less than 20% of the class is majority, Abby. Because I know
again, a lot of us submitted that day. Like many of us. Please help us submit. That question is confusing. Please
check the total. Hello, you do me a favor.
Number
Check
three.
the total number of people.
Number 3.
Check the total number of people check the total number of people that submitted. Divide it by the total number of people on the group, and the group has about 10 admins. So deduct the number 10 from it and check the percentage of submission based on the total number of people on the group, so you realize what I'm talking about. It's not
Sir, you are correct. We went up to 20%. We are actually 13.6 or so are submitted.
So it's not fair.
Please have mercy.
Number 3.
I beg, when you take calculate this 13.6.
Initial
He
allowance.
mentioned it in the last assignment. He mentioned it during the last assignment now. Once you're up to 20%. So when people submitted, I just this time look the whole thing. We not reach up to 110 to we submit to.
So actually I'm doing the calculation from my end. It's just to ensure everybody participates. That's the idea around it. Not any big deal. It's just to ensure everybody participates. But it's not. Yeah, please go ahead.
About the assignment, I'm just thinking that if we've done the assignment, you can just, if we send it to you personally, you can just send us a solution personally. I think that's fair enough.
I disagree with that too.
No, it's correct. You can
That's
just
correct.
it's okay. It's okay.
Sorry, we're not good enough, sir.
Okay, no problem. I will think about it.
Disagree.
Please, can we
I'll
stop
think about
distracting
it.
the class, please? Can we stop distracting?
So I will think about it. So
Sir,
don't
can
forget
I
that
make my
investment
suggestion?
allowance is No problem. I will think about. Let's forget about that. So investment allowance is an allowance granted to taxpayer on plant and machinery and plant and equipment, right? At
Yes.
10% of the
Yes.
cost of the asset. It does not form part of the taxable value of the asset, and it has been scrapped beginning from September 2023.
2023.
So, but this asset was purchased in 2018. That's why we are still permitting investment allowance. Do you understand? Right. So, hello.
Hello, sir.
Please mute your mic. Please mute your mic. I
Please,
will be confused. Please mute your
is it
mic.
only on plant and machinery that we have capital allowance? I mean,
Investment allowance, correct.
investment
Yes.
allowance. Okay.
Yeah. Please mute your mics. I don't want to mute everybody. I'm being lenient today. All right, good. So initial allowance. We said initial allowance is an allowance granted to taxpayer in the first year an asset is put to use, right? It is granted at the rate prescribed by the tax authority. All right. So we said for in land and building you have 15%, motor vehicle you have 50%, plant and machinery you have 50%, furniture and fitting you have 25%. Right. Annual allowance is an allowance granted to taxpayer over the useful life of the asset. Over the useful life of the asset, right? It is granted at a rate prescribed by the relevant tax authority. And the rate prescribed is 10%, 25%. Don't cram this rate. Once you are given your question paper, just check the last page. You will find this rate there. Does it make sense to you? Right. Does it make sense to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's get into the gist. I hope it's getting clear. I hope you're understanding. Now, so now let's go to the first thing I want to solve is 2018 YOA. So the first asset I have here is building, Abby. So I will say cost.
Yes.
What's the cost of building? 17,500.
75.
I have motor vehicle, 6,000.
6,000.
Plant and machinery,
14,000.
14,000. I think that's all that was allocated to the first year, right?
Yes, sir.
Then you say investment allowance. And I told you that for investment allowance, it does not form part of the tax down value of the asset. So I can just do 1.4. That's 10% of 14,000. You can as well put your 1.4 below it. But if you have stepmother like myself, please don't do it because you can mistakenly deduct it and it doesn't attract any mark. Do you understand? So just to avoid that, you can just put it at the total column because it does not form part of the tax NAM value of the asset. Please, in your exam, try to be careful to avoid any negative support. Do you understand? So initial allowance, right? Now, initial allowance is granted on all kind of assets apart from second-hand building. So you want to check anytime you have land and building, you have to be careful because you want to check, did they buy this land and building newly or it was a second-hand building? Let's check that out. No information regarding that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if there's no information regarding that, so we are then permitted to do the initial allowance. So what's 15% of 17,500? Please help me.
3625. 2625.
3635, you said?
2625.
All right. So what's 50%? 3,000, right?
Yes.
What's 50%? 7,000. Add everything up together, what do you have? 10, 12, 625.
12,625.
Does it make sense to you?
Yes,
Sorry, sir.
Yeah.
I thought you
Yeah.
said we are not permitted to do that of initial allowance
Oh, I didn't say that.
for land and building.
I said if it is second hand.
Yes, you now said we should check the information. And since we don't have
Yes.
any information regarding to
So if you
that.
do not, so you assume that it's a new asset.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah. So annual allowance. We said that annual allowance is prorated down to number of months in the basis period. Annual allowance is prorated down to number of months in the basis period, right? So we have to do some workings. Yeah, because furniture and fitting was bought or was allocated to 2019 year assessment.
Okay.
That's the reason behind this thing we did in the first place.
Yes.
So workings. Determination of annual allowances, right? And we said in the first year that the asset is put to use. Here the basis period is prorated. You have cost minus initial allowance right times the annual allowance rate right times number of months divided by 12. So what's the cost of the assets? I have 17,500.
17.5.
What's the initial allowance?
2,625.
2.5.
What's the rate? 10%, right?
10%.
So how many months do you have between
4 months.
September and December?
4 months.
So you do
4
times 4 over 12. So what do you have? That's
495.8.
That's
96.
495.8. Let's do to one
0.8.
decimal. Since all figures in since we're doing all figures in thousand. So the next one we have is motor vehicle. So what's the cost? What's the cost? The cost is what?
6,000.
6,000.
6,000 minus what's the initial allowance?
3,000.
3,000. So what's the annual allowance rate? 50%, right? Times, sorry, beg your pardon, 25%. Thank you. Times 4 over 12.
250.
What do you have? You have 250. And then you have, what's the next asset you have? I have plant and machinery, right?
Yes.
So what's the cost? The cost
14,000.
is 40 minus 7,000 times 25% times 4 over 12. What do you have?
583.3.
583.3. All right, so let's do that. Let's deduct that. So we have 495.8. We have 250. We have 583.3. So when you add that together, what do you have?
29.1.
What do you say?
1,329.1.
Any question at this point? Any question at this point?
Sir,
All right.
how do we get the
How do you get what?
4 months?
If you can hear her, please help me translate what she's saying. Because I can't
How
hear.
do we get the 4 months? 4 months. Are we prorated?
Yeah,
4
so
months over 12.
September to December. September to December.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
I am paying attention to YouTube people. I told you to increase the quality of the video from your end. And I believe some people have actually found solution to that. Kali. I believe some people have found solutions to that. If you're on YouTube and you have found solution to the blurry vision, please tell me you've done that. If you've not, then I think I still believe it's the quality, because for those on Google Meet, they can see the video clearly, and it is what is on Google Meet I am transmitting to YouTube, right? So I believe it should be from your end. I'm paying attention to your details.
So question.
All right. Yeah, please go ahead.
What in this first year, what if it's up to 12 months? Is there need for priority in subsequent years?
12 over 12 is 1, right?
Yes.
So anything multiplied by 1 will give you the same answer. So there's no need for doing that.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
So any question? You're welcome. Any other question? Any other question? So let's go. Tax minimum value. So what's the tax minimum value? Please help me.
14379.2.
0.2.
14.
379.
Next one.
2750.
275. Next one.
6416.7.
6416.7.
Yes.
I will still treat disposal. Just hold on. So for the total, you're adding up the allowances. Testimony, I will add up the allowances. What up the allowances? For testimony, I will treat disposal. So I will treat the disposal, don't worry. Oh, Kemi, I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to make anybody suffer. I hope you are gaining value for your time. It's the network. Sorry about that. But if you have any question, you can just make out time. You can just make out time to. If you cannot see the screen clearly, I still believe you will increase the quality of your video. It will work well, honestly. I believe we improve the quality of your video because Idion can see it clearly, Margaret can see it clearly, and we are all in different locations. So I still believe it's your settings. Just try to check try to make sure that you see the highest quality you can get. So give me the total figure for the total.
20441.7.
3044.
No.
No, it's not correct.
15,351.1.
All right. So you are adding up the allowances. That's what I said. 14 plus 12,
Yes,
65 plus
it's true.
20. All right. So let's do the next year. 2019 YOAB.
Yes.
So we have addition because we bought additional assets during that year. So if you check the additional assets that was bought, you notice that I'm getting slow. I'm slow in when I'm treating capital allowance and basis period. I'll be very fast in my subsequent class. But please, if you don't understand basis period and capital allowance, yeah, I'm just wondering how you are going to cope with your number 1 question in the exam. Do you understand? I'm wondering how you are going to cope with your number 1 question. You can prove me wrong. You can check for the past 5 diets. If you don't know basis period, you are likely going to be just joking around that number 1 question. So please, if you don't understand basis period and capital allowance, just ensure that you check the video, you ask questions on the group, you ask me questions, and I will ensure I answer you. But otherwise, you will be dragging us back in our subsequent classes because this is the foundation to passing advanced tax and passing in flying colors. All right, let's move on. Enough of that story. So what's the cost of furniture and fitting? Was that story necessary, Seth?
5,000.
3,750. Right.
Sorry for obstructing, sir. Is there a reason why tax return and value for plant and machinery is in negative?
It's typographical error.
That means that total is wrong, sir.
It's not. It's not. It doesn't affect the data.
It's correct.
Okay, the other total. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't affect the total. So the cost of furniture and fitting is 3,750, right? And then that man has additional motor vehicle, right? So what's the
Yes.
cost of the motor vehicle purchased? 5,000.
5,000.
Right. Then we have for the new asset purchase, you have initial allowance, right? So what's the initial allowance here? 2,500, I believe.
500. Yes.
Right. So what's 25% of 3,750?
937.5.
937.5. So add that up,
7.5.
what do you have?
3437.5.
3437.5.
That's
All
right.
right, that works. That works, right? Then annual allowance. So let me just do an allowance of the old assets. Now, only the first year is prorated. For the asset prorated in the first year, your subsequent annual allowance, if you remember, all right, will be, do you remember? We treat something like this, will be tax sitting down value divided by n minus 1, Abi. Do you remember?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So if that's the case, you have for the first year, you now have for building, your tax sitting down value is what? 14,379. Is that correct?
Yes.
379.1.2, beg your pardon, divided by 9, right?
Yes.
Okay. Then for the next one, we have motor vehicle. That's what? That's 2,750
2750.
divided by 3. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Answer machinery.
6416.7.
6416.7 divided by 3. So help me with all of that figures so that we can move on from there.
Land
Okay,
and building.
for Kemi, you should see something like a screw settings. Just click on it. Then click on video quality. Then you can find your way from there. Select 1080 pixel, 1080 pixel. All right, please go ahead.
1597.7.
1597.7. The next
Plant
one.
and machinery.
916.7.
16.7. Then the next one.
2138.9.
2138.9.
All right, so let's just bring those figures here. So to make your work neat in the exam, always show your working separately, right? But if it's something you can calculate with your head, don't bother showing it. Time is of essence. So the 3 hours is too short to answer all the questions in advanced tax if you know what you are doing. Do you understand? So don't waste it trying to design your notes. Do you get my point? But if you have the time and you're able to manage it, then that's fine. But 3 hours is too small to do it. So
Hope I will
please
not
manage
lose
it.
mark for not doing that, sir.
No.
Right.
But just that make sure that your work is neat. That's just it. You're a professional. And number 2, please learn to write a memo and a letter. Although I will teach you again, but if you don't, it's better you have a background knowledge of it now, because for your level, you'll be writing many reports or writing many discussions. So learn at least the basic ethos or the basic ethics of a memo, the basic style of a letter, so that it will be faster when I'm treating it. So help me add that up together. What do you have?
The total.
4653.3.
4653.3.
653.3.
All right, so annual allowance of the new assets. For this one, you don't need to prorate. You don't need to prorate, right? So what you do is just you didn't have a new asset here. We have a new asset here, right? So you just do 5,000. 5,000 minus 25 divided times 25%. What do you have? 625, Abby.
Yes.
Then do
5,000 minus
3,000,
what?
2,500. Then times 25%. That's cost minus initial allowance times the annual allowance rate.
10,000.
So let's do the next one. 3,750 minus 937.5 times 20%.
562.5.
562.5. Okay, the reason we are charging annual initial allowance is because we bought new assets. If you check very well on our allocation of QC, you realize that we have bought a new asset in 2019. That's why we're charging assets. That's why we're charging initial allowance on the new assets only. New assets only. Hope that clarifies. All right, let's add up together. What do you have?
One 187.5.
187.
New asset. 1187.5.
1187.5. All right, so if that's the case, so let's go to the next one.
Sorry, sir, can I ask a question before you move on?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so the basis period for the capital allowance for furniture and fittings and motor vehicle. I was thinking because it's January 2019 to
You
31st
may want to
August
type your question.
2019.
Your line is breaking.
Okay,
I'll type it. So we don't drag others behind. All right.
Just
So what's the
get
total?
625.
Please help me.
12781.6. 12781.6 for land and building.
Not sure.
Next one.
3708.3.
Are you sure? Did you add the tax down value of the previous year to it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what do you have?
3708.3.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now, but the screen is not showing.
You can't see your
Yeah.
screen.
It should come up now. All right. So what do we have for the next year?
That is 4277.8.
4277.8.
Yes, sir.
Next year.
That's 2250.
22. What's total allowances? Don't forget, this time around, you're not adding the previous year to it. This is double closed, right? So you are not adding, it's just for the year. You're adding up.
Yes.
So please
That's
help me.
9278.3.
9278.3.
78.3.
All right, so let's do 2020 YOA. All right, so we have annual allowance. So this time around, because we don't have a new asset, right? You can as well just repeat the allowance. So you say 1597.7. So for the second one, you had the allowances together because there are no additional assets. So you had the allowances together. What do you have?
1541.7.
1541.7. Next one.
2138.9.
2138.9. Next one. Honestly, I trust this man.
562.5.
I trust you, but you form my hand. I not deal.
Jesus.
It's not correct.
You see? You see?
What is not correct? Oh?
You said, correct. Please, are you sure it's correct?
It's correct.
All right, so Tutu. Are you scared?
5840.8.
5840.8. Don't be scared. They're like that.
Sir, please, my question is in the chat box. Thank you.
Don't worry, I will attend to your questions. So let's go. I'll attend to your questions.
11183.9.
11183.9. Yeah.
2166.6.
2166.6. Next one.
2138.9.
38.9.
1687.5.
1687.5.
1687.5. So this one I just have to bring the 58540 down. 5840.8. All right, and that's all. With that, you've earned your marks. But for your level, don't expect capital allowance as a standalone question. You know, if they should even set capital allowance for you, I think question themselves. Because both of us now you'll be calling me your professional colleague on top for capital allowance. Abi? So there are better things they can test. Capital allowance is too simple to be tested. But at the same time, number one, the knowledge of capital allowance is very key. Right? The knowledge of capital allowance is very key. All right, let me take questions. I'm looking at if I can discuss with your SFM lecturer.
Hello, sir. Please, can you just leave your screen?
Yeah, Jonathan. Okay, the idea is just in the first year of commencement, not all through. It's in the first year of commencement. That's for Gladys. Gladys is only for 12 for the first year of commencement. You have to pour it, not subsequent year. Just for the first year. Please mute your mind. Please mute your mind. You can to be safe just to the do one digit. Just do one digit. You get approximate to the nearest or to one digit. That's fine. Any question? Please, let's stop this. Mute your. It's like I'll mute everybody. So I said I want to see if I can discuss with your SFM lecturer if we could extend this class, or would you just want us to continue the next class?
Yeah, you can discuss.
Can discuss with him if you say yes. And if you say no, we'll move it to the next class.
All right, Emmanuel.
Okay, good evening, sir. Please, I have a question. Can you hear me?
How do you think you
I
will
can
finish
hear
this
you.
lunch?
Okay, so
Why?
I
All
have a
of you.
question.
Why tó o kò ṣe bu díẹ̀ tó bá yó kó wá tún lọ mu sí?
All right, Emmanuel Light. Emmanuel Light. All right, so mute, you only Emmanuel Light can mute himself now. So Emmanuel.
All right, thank you very much, sir. So please, I have a question. I wanted to find out. I'm kind of lost a bit. When we're dealing with trying to compete for the subsequent annual allowance, I know we made use of 9 months for building motor vehicle, and I think 3 months. Then even
9 years, not months.
in 9 years.
Yeah.
Okay, that means every detail that was used there was the years. Is it the years left? I don't. How do we like
Yeah,
come
the
about?
years left, right? So the years left to actually achieve that, or to find out that, just do the annual allowance rate, right? So do 100 divided by the annual allowance rate, then minus 1 from it. That's how we got those figures. So for building, the annual allowance rate is 10%, right? So 100 divided by 10 gives 10. 10 minus 1 is equal to 9. For building, for plant and machinery, for instance, or what other assets do they purchase?
Furniture.
For furniture, right? So for furniture, you have
Five,
5
5 years.
years. That's 100 divided by 20, we give you 5. So 5 minus 1 gave you 4. That's how we came about those figures. Does it clarify, Emmanuel?
All right, yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, okay, Usman.
Good evening, sir. Thank you
Yeah,
for
good evening.
thank you for all the insights of taxation. In fact, you are I've not attended taxation class like this for the past 3 diet. I'm attempting it, and I really want to appreciate you. My
Oh, thank you
my
very much.
challenge mostly, sir, is that clumsy number one questions
Hey,
that
that's why we are here
yes,
together. Number one is clumsy. Number
yes,
one is 4 topics combined together. So if you're able to
yes.
if you're able to stay with us through, if you're able to stay with us through, I promise you, number one will no longer be clumsy. I promise you that. That if you can stay with us through. Last night I wasn't opportunity to. I mean, I was having a lot of emotional issues, so I wasn't able to teach. So last
Yeah,
night, but this diet, if you're able to follow us through, I'm very sure it will not be clumsy.
it's okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate
What you know that is clumsy now, Abby? If you know it, you didn't remain clumsy.
no.
Abi? So
You said 4 topics in one question.
don't
Yes.
worry. It sounds scary, but it's simple. We'll solve many of them here. That's why we are building a foundation.
Sir.
All right. So, Oyinkosola.
Okay, thank you, sir, for the presentation so far. So, I think you've mentioned it before, but I just want to be sure. Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. So the year of assessment 2019 for capital allowance, basis period for capital allowance. We started from 1st January 2019 to 31st August. So
Yeah,
I
correct.
just want to ask, it doesn't matter if it is 8 months, Abi, we don't need to prorate for
No, you
2019
don't
year of
prorate
assessment.
because the rule says you prorate based on the basis period for accessible profit. If you remember the rule I gave you,
Okay.
and if you check basis period for accessible profit is 12 months.
Yes.
So that's why we don't prorate. That's the real logic behind it. Because the rule says prorate based on number of months in the basis period for assessable profit.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. So very fast, my second
You're welcome.
question. So the heading for
Yeah.
the computation of capital allowance, you know the number, the question 2I, they said we should do for first 5 years year of assessment. But for our heading, we wrote computation of capital allowance for 2018 to 2020.
Yeah,
Are we
so
still going
18,
to?
19, 20. 18, 19, 20 is
Yes.
3. Yeah, B?
Okay.
And the
Yes,
man
yes,
said
it's 3
to do
years.
for the first 3 years. Yeah, the man told us to do for the first 3 years. Calculate the capital allowances due to be utilized for the first 3 years of assessment in respect of the qualifying capital expenditure incurred by the company. So we are correct.
Okay,
I think when
that
we
5 years is for basis period.
first one,
Exactly.
exactly. So this one should have been
Okay.
2022. All right.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. All right. So Temitayo.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. So far, though I was logged out at some point, but I tried to do it on my own. But when I connected back, I saw that you put, of course, I know that machinery, delivery van is part of machinery, but I already did it separately on my own.
No, delivery
That's
van is
fine.
not machinery. Oh. Delivery van is motor vehicle.
Motor van, rather, sorry, it's motor van. Like,
Okay,
I did
that's
it
cool.
separately. I separated motor van from delivery van. Is it fine? Like, must
No,
I
that's
add it
fine. You
together?
get the same thing. You get the same allowance.
All right, thank you,
If
sir.
you do it correctly, you get the same allowances.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's all right.
Sir, our SFM tutor just messaged the group. I think you should speak with him.
No, don't worry. We'll continue from your next class. Meanwhile, attempt number 3 on the question sheet. Attempt number 3 on the question sheet. The reason behind there are 2 reasons behind the attempt, right? Number 1 is to make the next class fast. Because I believe once you've attempted, you'd have read the question. Right? So get the question, read it, attempt it. So in the next class, I will try as much as possible to start at my 8 o'clock, right? Then once I start by the 8 o'clock, I believe that
Is
I
it
mean
8 or
7 o'clock,
7?
I mean 7, beg your pardon. So if I start by 7, but next class I'm dealing with 2 topics. I'm concluding on capital allowance, and at the same time I'm going to be treating what's the name, loss relief. I'll be treating loss relief.
Sir, concerning
All
the
right, I'll
question
be
you asked
treating
me
loss relief.
to attempt, the
Yeah.
assets sold, are we putting it as purchases also? Because that's the only
They
confusing
are sold.
part of it.
They are sold, right? So that
We don't have
forms
any
a balancing
yet.
adjustment.
Okay.
That forms a balancing adjustment.
Sorry, please.
Just do it anyhow.
What do you say we should attempt?
Question number 3 of the question sheet.
Okay,
I think I
thank
will share it for those joining us again. I will share the notes with you. I will share the question sheet with you.
Okay,
sir.
Because I just joined this class today and I don't even have access to the question. So I was wondering how I could get
Yeah,
the
we
question.
so I will share that with you. For the classes you missed, you may want to watch the video again.
Yes.
All right, that's fine. Another question? All right. In the absence of question, Temita, are you still raising your hand?
No, it's
Thank
a
you,
mistake.
sir. Thank you for the presentation.
So in
God
the
bless
absence
you.
of question or questions, permit me to end tonight's class. Good night, everybody.
Good
Thanks
night,
and
sir.
God
Thank
bless
you
you.
very much, sir.
Thank you
Good
very
night,
much,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir. God bless you.
You're welcome,
Bless
my
you.
dear.
Thank you very much, sir.
God bless.